Just before we get into this video, if you like science and space-themed videos, be sure to check out Eric Malachite's new channel, Science Get. Eric wrote the script for today's video, and on his channel he talks about exoplanets, black holes, the existential dread of interstellar space, and much more. There is a link below. History is filled with the names of inventors like Nikola Tesla, Thomas Edison, Sir Isaac Newton, etc. Some of these names are of interest because they're examples of the seemingly not-so-rare event of simultaneous invention. This event is defined as an invention that is independently researched, invented, or discovered by two or more people. From calculus and the lightning rods to the polio vaccine and plastic, here are 10 things that were invented twice. Number 10. Calculus. Sir Isaac Newton and Gottfried Leibniz both invented, or discovered if you prefer, calculus in the 1600s. Today, Newton is famous for igniting the scientific revolution of the 17th century. He was a physicist, a mathematician, and a philosopher. Gottfried Leibniz, a German man born in 1646, was also a mathematician and philosopher. He's credited with many contributions to metaphysics and logic. These two men created calculus, and they did it wholly independently of one another at around the same time. Upon its discovery, calculus was considered a whole new invention within the realm of mathematics, but the foundation for it was actually forged by pioneers like Kepler, Archimedes, Diophantus, Fibonacci, and Ptolemy. If Newton and Leibniz hadn't discovered calculus in the 1600s, someone, somewhere, when would have stumbled upon it. At the time of calculus's discovery, however, Newton actually accused Leibniz of plagiarism, claiming that he had copied his research and methodology. While Newton discovered calculus using a geometric approach while he was working on his theory of fluxions, and only after referencing the work of his predecessor, John Wallis, he was able to create calculus. Leibniz, however, couldn't have copied Newton's work since he followed an analytical approach that didn't rely on Newton's previous work. Number 9. The polio vaccine. Polio was a devastating virus that in about 2% of cases could enter the bloodstream and attack a patient's nerve cells, which could leave that patient paralyzed. While it's common knowledge that polio has effectively been eradicated, what may not be as well known is that the vaccine was actually invented twice. Jonas Salk and Albert Bruce Sabin both invented the polio vaccine at two different points in history. In the 1940s, Dr. John Enders showed that the polio virus could be grown in human tissue and was eventually rewarded for his breakthrough discovery with the Nobel Prize in 1954. Even in the 1940s, the virus was far too small to be imaged by scientists. Enders' research was conducted on mice and monkey tissue that showed signs of the virus's trademark paralysis. This research directly led to Professor Albert Sabin and Jonas Salk's independently developed vaccines. The first vaccine was released by Salk in 1953 after he was presented a research grant from Franklin D. Roosevelt's National Foundation for Infantile Paralysis. Roosevelt actually suffered from the permanent paralysis of his legs thanks to a bout with polio when he was 39. After the release of the vaccine, Sabin became instantly famous. The second vaccine would be developed in 1963 and would differ from Salk's vaccine, which used a dead form of the virus, as it was introduced orally. Sabin's vaccine ended up overtaking Salk's, and he would donate the vaccine strains to the World Health Organization. Number 8. The periodic table. In 1869 and 1870, Dmitri Mendeleev and Lothar Meyer published two strikingly similar periodic tables. Though Dmitri Mendeleev is credited with the discovery, as his table was the first to be published, Lothar Meyer's table is remarkably similar to Mendeleev's, even though the two scientists worked completely independently of each other. Mendeleev's work was revolutionary. His table was so advanced that he was able to predict where several elements would go that hadn't yet been discovered. Meyer's table, finished in 1868, was organized by atomic weight and valency. Amazingly, the two scientists were completely unaware of each other's work, even years after the publication of both of their periodic tables. Meyer did admit, however, that Mendeleev's table was published first. Although he was late to the party, Meyer's contribution to the periodic table cannot be ignored, as Meyer was the first to show the pattern in atomic value when plotted against its atomic weight. Number 7. Electricity and the lightning rod. 6 years before Benjamin Franklin invented his lightning rod, or Franklin rod if you travel back in time and ask him yourself, Prokop Diffish devised the first grounded lightning rod. Prokop's device was meant to both act as a lightning rod and potentially dispel thunderstorms altogether. While the second aim of Divish's lightning rod was more than a little unsuccessful, the lightning rod itself was a success. His fellow citizens, however, did not trust his invention, and in 1756, Prokop took his invention down and abandoned his experiments, deciding to turn his attention to music instead. Benjamin Franklin would invent the second grounded lightning rod in 1752 as part of a larger exploration of the properties behind electricity. Franklin was also the first to produce a workable system for testing his hypothesis, stating, "The electrical fire would, I think, be drawn out of a cloud silently before it could come near enough to strike." Unlike Prokop's lightning rod, Franklin's Franklin rod would come to adorn most rooftops in what would become the United States, often featuring ornamental glass balls as part of their overall aesthetic. But ironically, Prokop's rod is thought to have been better grounded than Benjamin's, but his theories and studies on electricity would not become public until after his death. Number 6. Neutrinos mass discovery. A neutrino is a neutral subatomic particle that doesn't typically interact with normal matter. They were first discovered in 1956 by Fred Raines of the University of California at Irving, but after it was shown that nuclei that undergo beta decay emit neutrinos along with their electrons, physicists wanted to know whether or not these particles also had mass. Takai Kajita in Japan, in collaboration with a team of 120 other US and Japanese scientists, and Arthur B. McDonald in Canada, both proved that neutrinos have mass, and they did it using completely different methods. Kajita's team measured the neutrinos produced in the atmosphere from cosmic rays using Super Kamiokande, a Chernikov detector containing 50,000 tons of ultra-pure water. Kajita's team revealed that their detector measured the neutrinos to have a mass below 1 electron volt. To put this in perspective, 1 electron has a mass of 511,000 electron volts. Now, Kajita's study was conducted in 2015, but Arthur B. McDonald's study took place 15 years earlier and revealed that neutrinos actually deviate into different types, causing them to switch to different states: electron neutrinos, muon neutrinos, and tau neutrinos, which all exhibit different behaviors. This study effectively suggested that these subatomic particles have to have mass in order to exhibit this kind of behavior. As a result, these two scientists share the Nobel Prize. Number 5. The television. Television may be the greatest example of simultaneous invention, as it wasn't just two inventors that contributed to its inception, but several. The device was originally conceived as an educational tool and a means of interpersonal communication that would quickly become a broadcast medium that continues to wield significant influence over the citizens of many countries in the modern world. The first discovery of television was made by a telegraph worker named Joseph May when he realized that selenium wire varied in its electrical conductivity. May observed that direct contact with sunlight caused these variations, which could lead to the method in which light is transformed into an electrical signal. In 1880, French engineer Maurice Leblanc published an article in the journal La Lumière Électrique, which outlined the basic principles that would make up all television technology going forward. Though Leblanc never actually developed a working prototype, his concepts were further fleshed out by British and US inventors John Logie Baird and Charles Francis Jenkins, respectively, which consisted of the transmission of a single live human face. This would all culminate in the first successful demonstration of television in its modern form in 1927 by Filio Taylor Farnsworth, a 21-year-old inventor who lived in a house without electricity until he was aged 14. Number 4. Automated telemachine. In 1967, Scottish inventor John Shepherd Barron invented what was called at the time the Delarue cash system, known as the ATM today. However, at the time, ATM cards did not exist, so Barron's machine accepted checks imprinted with carbon-14, an isotope that carries slight radioactivity. The invention changed banking as it was known at the time. But in 1969, Don Wetzel invented America's first ATM, which was installed at Chemical Bank, which is now a Chase banking location in the Rockville Center of Long Island. Wetzel's machine was able to receive deposits, dispense cash, and transfer money between accounts, and it was accessed using an ATM card with a magnetic strip. Both inventors were inspired by being stuck in long lines and by being locked out of their banking institution after hours, and developed the concept independently of each other. Number 3. The microchip. Robert Norton Noyce, nicknamed the Mayor of Silicon Valley, was an American physicist and the co-founder of the Intel Corporation and Fairchild Semiconductor. He's also one of the men responsible for the invention of the microchip and holds the US patent for miniaturized electronic circuits. Jack Kilby is also the inventor of the microchip, holding the US patent for a silicon-based electronic circuit. Kilby was an electrical engineer and also co-invented the pocket calculator, known as the Pocketronic. Amazingly, the two men developed their microchips within 6 months of each other, though between the two of them, Kilby was the one to receive the Nobel Prize for his work, as Noyce died before he could receive his. Number 2. Plastic. Dr. Hermann Schnell, inventor in the employment of Bayer, who both manufactured aspirin and chemical weapons, as mentioned in our list about the most deadly chemical weapons, invented polycarbonate macrolon in 1953. 1 week later, Dr. Daniel Fox invented a polycarbonate called Lexan, which has since gone on to be used in CDs and DVDs, those ancient storage devices previously used by humans long ago to do things such as listen to music and watch movies. Although Fox applied for the patent for polycarbonate, it was ultimately given to Bayer, as Schnell had developed plastic first. Fortunately for the company Fox worked for, a little company called GE that you might have heard of, Bayer allowed them to use the patent as well. Number 1. The jet engine. During World War II, on opposite sides of the conflict, Sir Frank Whittle and Hans von Ohain both independently developed the jet engine. The jet engine, created by Hans von Ohain in conjunction with Max Hahn, an automotive engineer at the time, was actually larger in diameter than Whittle's finished model, but there were some serious issues with the engine's ability to maintain combustion stability. Whittle's engine, while admittedly smaller, was first tested in 1937, and this event is considered to be the first successful test of the invention, even though Ohain had demonstrated the first operational use of a jet engine. The two met up after the war was officially over, posing for a photograph where they both held up pictures of their jet engine designs. So I really hope you found that video interesting. If you did, please do hit that thumbs up button below. Don't forget to subscribe, and thank you for watching.